I'm be covering the Bizzare Animals Iceberg. I found this on Reddit. Unfortunately, the user who made this deleted his account or deleted the post off his account. I don't know how Reddit works. But yeah, so if you made this, I'll give you credit. I guess first person who claims credit gets it. But yeah, so that's what I'm be covering. Seems like it pretty cool. Some of the animals on the like lower tiers are absolutely wild, and I thought were like genuinely just horror movie material, but apparently they're not, and they're real. So yeah, the blobfish is kind of shaped like a tadpole when it's at its normal depth. That'll be important later. But yeah, it has conical teeth, kind of shaped like candy coins, and they live at around 300 to 1700 meters below the surface. Like most deep water species, they take a long time to grow or reproduce. They usually just spend their time at the bottom of the ocean doing whatever, trying to conserve energy because there's not a whole lot of life down there, not a whole lot of things to feed on, and they're mainly called a blobfish because when they get ripped up from the bottom of the ocean, their membrane is just gelatinous with very few bones. So when they get ripped up, they kind of implode, causing them to look like just a big blob of fish, which is kind of unfair because if you got ripped into space, you'd probably look pretty much like a blob as well. Very normal looking fish, kind of looking like a pufferfish. Just we damage it. The next animal is a praying mantis. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because everybody's seen a praying mantis. The praying mantis title applies to around 2,400 species. There's a very wide diversity. Its arms fold together and make it look like it's praying, hence the name. They mainly feed through ambush tactics, but certain species will follow their prey and stalk it. Their closest relative is the termite. Most famously, the females will eat the male after shaboinking. Despite that weird fact, they're considered to have supernatural powers in a lot of Asia, Egypt, and ancient Greece. So much so, in fact, that there are multiple Chinese martial arts that are based off the tactics of the praying mantis. The next animal is the platypus. Is the bane of existence for taxonomists. Justifiably so, because it's the weirdest looking animal on this tier. It's a mammal with a duck bill, normal mammal body, webbed feet, and a beaver tail that also lays eggs. To detect its prey when it's swimming around, it will close its eyes and nostrils and use electrolocation to find its prey. It has venomous spurs on its feet. It glows under UV light. And as I said before, it's a taxonomist's worst nightmare. The first Europeans to discover the platypus only discovered a dead body that was brought to them, and they thought that it was a fraud. It was just a bunch of animals like sewn together, and they didn't believe it until they saw one walking around. And then they didn't believe that it laid eggs until they saw it laying eggs. It shows you how tricky this animal was to classify. Uh, Before I forget, it also chews up its food by swallowing rocks and then stores that food in its cheeks. The next animal is a axolotl. The axolotl is essentially a baby salamander that chose to never grow up. It has gills, frilly gills, cute little smile. In addition to having gills, it also has lungs and can breathe through its skin, which is actually a pretty common thing among amphibians. That's why it's generally advised to not hold frogs because a lot of frogs breathe through their skin, and you get your hand oils all over them, which can cause them to suffocate. Something creepy about them is that they don't have any eyelids. So when they sleep, they just sleep there with their eyes open. Swallows have insane regeneration capabilities. They can regenerate all of their limbs, their tail, even their spinal cord, heart, and parts of their brain, which is insane. And so as a result, the juveniles will nibble on each other's legs and like eat them because they can just always grow it back. They come in a large variety of colors. They come in pink, yellow, blue, just like Minecraft. It's believed that a Aztec god transformed into an axolotl to escape death, and that's where it gets its name from. And like most animals on this list, sadly, they're endangered and losing a lot of habitat to human development. The next animal is the American manatee. I've personally seen some of these animals swimming around in a spring in Florida, and these things are just massive and beautiful, truly amazing. They're called the West Indian manatee as well. They're about 10-ish feet long. They're normally about cow sized, to be honest. And they actually, I've heard people call them sea cows because they're herbivores, mainly eating grass, like seagrass and stuff. And they have very good vocal communication. The largest manatee on record is 15 feet long and over 3,000 pounds, which is crazy. They live for about 50 years in the wild, and the largest manatee on record is Snooty, who lived for 69 years, almost exactly, dying 2 days after its 69th birthday. Uh, and he didn't even die from some sort of medical condition or like old age or anything. He died because a maintenance worker left a panel open in his habitat, and he just kind of swam in and got stuck. It's not funny, but it's kind of funny. I'm imagining just like him in like this massive manatee in like a super small container. Manatees also have a tooth conveyor belt, permanently regrowing teeth for their entire life. Pretty much the middle tooth falls out, then new ones get generated at the back of their mouth and pushes the old ones towards the front. This is because they chewing on seagrass is strenuous to the teeth, so they constantly need new ones. The next animal is a kiwi. This is like a national icon to New Zealand, and New Zealand overall is just a super cool place. It's one of the few places on Earth where mammals didn't really take over. I forgot why, but essentially birds and reptiles take over all the niches that mammals take over worldwide, including the kiwi. Kiwi kind of takes like a hamster or like a mouse role within the New Zealand. It's this tiny, flightless bird that kind of just runs around the forest floor. They have the largest eggs in proportion to their size, largely to them being so small. And they smell their prey by using nostrils on the end of their beak. Their mating process is also pretty unique because the male and their female are a monogamous couple. They choose each other once, and then they continue to mate with the same partner for around 20 years. During mating season, what happens is they'll call each other and then they'll meet up pretty much every night for those like 2 or 3 months to try to make a baby. And then, yeah, they lay their eggs. The next one is the beluga whale. This is it's also called a white whale and a melonhead by bully whales. You can kind of tell why because it's got like the large bulbous thing on its head, which they actually use to communicate between each other. The beluga whale ranges from around 11 to 18 feet and weighs around 2 to 4,000 pounds. It's adapted to life in the Arctic, traveling in groups of 10, but during mating season, they'll move to warmer waters and group up, sometimes forming groups of hundreds or thousands of beluga whales all in one area. To coordinate this, they use the giant melons on top of their heads to reverberate the sounds around all the like fat stores up there. Something unique about them is that they're one of the only whales that can swim backwards, and they're very closely related to the narwhal. Um, so much so that they can actually interbreed with a narwhal, Although I imagine the result is probably not good. Like it's kind of similar how lions and tigers can interbreed, but like it's a messed up tiger. Like you don't want to do it. Actually, it's a messed up liger. Thanks, Zanzo. The Malayan tapir is a weird pig-like animal with a long, droopy nose and black legs and a white torso. It grows from 6 to 8 feet, and it weighs around 500 to 700 pounds. The coloration helps them camouflage into their environment, although predators are not too much of a threat to this animal. This is because they have a extremely strong bite, such a strong bite, in fact, that in one case it severed off a zookeeper's arm at the bicep. As a result, even tigers are not a big threat because they're scared of this animal. And when they do die, its skull, um, in my opinion, could probably be mistaken for a unicorn because it has this like giant hole in its head. Next up is the walrus. The walrus kind of looks like a sea lion, but it's got those massive tusks. Those tusks are used in a variety of situations, fending off predators, fighting each other, and also they use it to help them get onto ice. Despite their fatty look, they're actually extremely quick in the water, even though they do weigh up to 4,000 pounds. Their mustaches are called vibrissae. There's no way I pronounced that right. And they're used to help find clams and mussels on the seafloor. They can rotate their back flippers, helping them waddle around, and they can slow their heartbeat to stay underwater for up to 30 minutes. They have no external ears. They lost those a long time ago, so that they're perfect for diving. But they still use noises to communicate each other, using an air sac in their throat to as a megaphone underwater. The next animal is the Indian peafowl. This animal is better known as a peacock, although technically only the males are called peacocks, the females are called peahens. Have you ever seen one of these? It kind of looks like a turkey, and it has this large crest, I guess the best way to describe it, that's just super multicolored and just absolutely beautiful. It's used for mating, we know that for sure, but other purposes are still debated by scientists today. Charles Darwin himself described it as a puzzle to solve. It's the national bird of India, and females are significantly less pretty than the males because the males have that whole crest thing. But yeah, not a whole lot here. Kind of just like a normal big bird build, just has a very beautiful mating structure. Sounds sus as hell. The next animal is the octopi, also known as the forest giraffe, the Congolese giraffe, and the zebra giraffe. You'll see why it has so many names. It's only found in the Congo, but it's been found a little bit southwest of there as well. A key feature of it is that it has zebra-like streaks all over its legs. Despite these zebra-like features, it's most closely related to giraffe. It stands about 5 feet tall and 9 feet long. It's a true sigma. So stupid. It's a true sigma because it's usually solitary, but it does interact with other members of its species to mate. The next animal is the sperm whale. It's the largest toothed whale and the largest toothed predator in general. Measuring 52 feet long, it can dive down to 7,300 feet. It has the largest brain on Earth, but surprisingly, it's only 5 times larger than a human, which like is a lot bigger, but it's really not that much. The article kind of cited this fact as like almost seeming like a diss to humans, but I feel like this is a win for us. They use echolocation to like navigate around, And much like the beluga whale, it has a melon on its head to reverberate the sounds. The next animal is a red panda. This is also known as the lesser panda. Despite that, this is a very cute animal. It has reddish brown fur and a black belly. It kind of looks like a cat mostly, but it mainly feeds on bamboo. Despite its name, it's not actually a panda or a bear at all. It's most closely related to weasels, skunks, and raccoons. One funny thing about it though is that when it sleeps, it kind of sleeps with its like arms dangled out in front of it to stay balanced on a branch. It's pretty funny to see. The next animal is the deep sea anglerfish. I feel like the reason why it's on this list is pretty obvious. It's a very creepy looking fish with a bobber in front of it that's bioluminescent, which means it glows in the dark. Because of this lure, it attracts a ton of other fish to it so that it can just wait for the fish to hit its lure and just eat them. It's generally a very weak swimmer, and more shallow water species choose to walk instead. The deep sea fish, however, choose to swim around at around like mid low depth. If that makes sense. It's not quite a bottom dweller, but it's like close to there. The male female interaction here is actually extremely interesting. It has a kind of common thing called sexual parasitism. Essentially, what happens is that the female is the only animal. It, the female anglerfish is the only anglerfish that actually does anything. The male essentially is a little parasite onto the female, and will actually sometimes fuse in and just become like a part of the body of the female. So the male, there is kind of no such thing as a male anglerfish. Just like, yeah, I'm sure I'll pull up a picture of a male anglerfish here. The next animal is the aardvark. It's a medium-sized kangaroo-looking animal with a very long and iconic pig snout. It uses its snout to dig burrows for itself, and as a result, it's called an earth pig. It's closer to a mole, really, than any other animal. And it's kind of a living fossil in the same way that a horseshoe crab is, because it hasn't really evolved much over the years. It's kind of the iconic long nose animal, with a bunch of fighter jet squadrons being named after them, as well as a fighter jet given the nickname in aardvark for having a long nose. The next animal is the long snout seahorse. This is a classic seahorse. It's about 7 inches long and can live up to 4 years. Something cool about it is kind of like a cuttlefish or a chameleon. It can change color to quickly camouflage. It uses ambush tactics on small prey to feed. The seahorse's mating habits are very strange and interesting. Much like the kiwi, they mate for life, but very uniquely, despite not producing the embryos, the females give the male the embryo to carry in a pouch, and so that the male gets pregnant instead of the female. They lack any natural predators besides humans who use them for medicine and religious practices. The cassowary is essentially a tropical ostrich or emu. It's a large flightless bird that's native to New Guinea. It's the third largest and second heaviest, and it has absolutely beautiful coloring all over its body. It has a funny mohawk that reminds me a lot of the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy who like uses a whistle to move the arrow around. And something interesting is that they use calls to radiate heat off of their body, and they lack a tongue. They're also extremely violent, being named the most dangerous bird. Despite this, its kill streak, I guess, is a lot less of that of an ostrich. A ostrich kills 2 to 3 people per year, and a cassowary has only killed a couple people in its lifetime. And if you're curious how these large flightless birds kill people, they just claw them to death, which is so unbelievably brutal. Despite not really hurting humans too much, they do attack dogs a lot. The spotted hyena is a very strange animal. It's kind of just looks like a normal dog. I'm sure you've seen them in the Lion King and everything. But something interesting about them is that it's a very matriarchal society where the females kind of rule the social order. And also very strange is that the females also have penises. They're called pseudopenises, and I'm not really sure how the whole process works. But yeah, they actually have to give birth um, using using the pseudopenis, and it's kind of referred to as one of the most painful childbirths of any species, where the pseudopenis has to tear in half essentially to in order to birth this animal, and as a result, most of a hyena's firstborns die very soon after. Next animal is the manta ray. This a manta ray is a diamond-shaped animal that can grow up to 23 feet in width. This is a terrifyingly massive animal. Despite looking very intimidating, they mainly only feed on zooplankton, and sometimes in deeper water they feed on small fish, but they don't eat large living things at all. Despite being a fish, they do give birth to live pups. Something very interesting is I've noticed with a lot of these animals, there will be some sort of like random fact thrown in there about some other species. You'll see more what I'm talking about later on, but the reason I bring this up is because manta rays visit cleaning stations, which are these ocean ecosystems that entirely revolve around cleaning bacteria and parasites off of larger animals. So what these like little minnows and crabs will do is they'll eat like all the dead skin, the algae, and like the parasites that are on a manta ray, and the manta ray just kind of stops by, and it's I never really thought that the Shark Tale thing was true, but I guess it is. As I said, they look very scary, and so as a result, sailors being sailors, they created a myth about them that manta rays would grab an anchor and pull them out to sea. This never happened, obviously, but nowadays, manta rays are very idealized. The GDP of the manta ray is around 140 million per year, with all the tourism that manta rays create, as well as each manta ray generates about a million per year. So most governments ban any sort of hunting from them because you can only really get like $200,000 worth of food from a manta ray, whereas you can get millions and millions of dollars over on a manta ray over its lifespan. The next animal is a muskox. This is a hooved animal native to the Arctic region. It's called a muskox because it has a very strong odor during mating season. Their closest family members are sheep and goats. They have long curved horns like a lot of different animals in that family. They're used for their meat, milk, and wool. They're especially used for their wool because it's super thick and I think it's moisture wicking as well. Nonetheless, it is worth about $40 to $80 per ounce of yarn, meaning that a sweater made of muskox wool costs anywhere between $500 to $3,000. Nowadays, they mainly live in Alaska, and there are quite a few that are domesticated. And they have something cool about their social order. The dominant bull will sniff the subordinate's genitals and kind of like mock them, and a subordinate bull can challenge the dominant bull by charging at them. The final animal in this tier is the giant anteater. The giant anteater is classified into the sloth family. It's roughly doggish sized and has a very distinct features all over. The tongue that they use to slither into anthills is around 24 inches long, and they use it again to eat ants and termites. They also have a very strong sense of smell, being that 40 times larger than the human to be able to smell ants' pheromones and stuff. First animal of tier 2 is the proboscis monkey. It's kind of a generic monkey, kind of think baboon, except has a super large and bulbous nose. This trait is only found in the males, and it's used as a sign of dominance over the other monkeys. The larger the nose, the better. Their big noses help to amplify their honking calls, and despite being a monkey, they're incredible. That sounds so bad. Despite being a primate, they're extremely good swimmers, having webbed feet to help them in their endeavors. The next animal is the snapping turtle. As someone who lives in the South, this is pretty well known to me. I've seen these snapping turtles around. They kind of look like dinosaurs, and they're just giant ass turtles. They're super scary. If you ever see them, they always look at you with their mouth open, and you can just see how strong they are. Despite their bite being so strong, they haven't actually even chopped off someone's finger or anything. Despite this, their jaws can bite through a broom handle, so stay wary. They rarely leave water except to lay eggs. Even during hibernation, they don't come out of the water, rather using a hole in their rear to breathe out of, and they just stick that part out of the water and stay in the water. The next animal is a nine-banded armadillo. You will most often see these dead on the side of a road. Something cool about the nine-banded armadillo is that it always gives birth to four identical twins. They can hold their breath for 6 minutes and kind of walk underwater, but they can also choose to swim by inflating their intestines, however that works. As I mentioned before, they are very frequently found as roadkill. This is because once they're startled, they jump around 3 to 4 feet into the air instead of trying to run away or something. So they actually end up smashing into cars' windshields, despite being a tiny little animal. Contrary to popular belief, they cannot roll into a ball. That trait's only really found in more South American species, but they are rapidly expanding across the U.S. I think now they've made their way into Virginia. The tarsier is a very, very tiny monkey found in southern Asia. They have absolutely enormous eyes so large that they're actually smaller than their brains. Kind of like an owl, they can rotate their head in 180 degrees in both directions. And despite its cute looking nature, it's the only purely carnivorous primate feeding on insects and lizards. The giant Japanese hornet gained a lot of notoriety during the COVID days because I guess that's just a why not to add to that whole crisis era. It's a huge hornet with very powerful venom. Their venom is so strong, in fact, that it can dissolve human tissue with just a sting. It feeds its larva by decapitating honeybees and feeding it to its larvae. The honeybees fight back by encircling the hornet into a ball and essentially boiling it to death. They were briefly found in the US, specifically the Pacific Northwest. Despite this, they are believed to be completely eradicated, but you never know. They were nicknamed the murder hornet, and much like many stinging insects, the males kind of do a whole lot of nothing, and they don't have a stinger. The Maine wolf is one of my favorite animals, at least on this tier. It is super cool and has a ton of very interesting facts to it. The Maine wolf is native to South America, and it has long legs with kind of a fox appearance. Despite a smaller stature, it's still the largest canine native to South America. Its urine smells almost identical to the aroma of weed, causing a lot of zoos to have problems with police thinking that there's some sort of drug activity going on. Notably, the Rotterdam Zoo had this happen to them. It's not really, despite looking like a fox, it's not really a wolf or a fox. It's its own unique species. They eat a lot of fruit, and as a result, they defecate, choosing to defecate on leafcutter ants' nests. These leafcutter ants then promptly use these feces and take them into their burrows to fertilize their fungus gardens. These ants grow their own food. That is wild. This is another one of those facts where the articles just mention this like offhandedly, acting like that it's not the craziest thing ever. I don't know why, but just animals organizing in this way is just so crazy to me. The vampire bat is a small bat that does actually feed on blood along with nectar, pollen, and fruit. They're pretty sneaky with their blood consumption because they're able to make a painless incision onto an animal. To help with the loosening of the blood to get it out of their victim, their saliva contains an anticoagulant. Despite their name being a vampire, they don't suck blood out of their victim, rather choosing to just make a mark onto their prey and then just kind of licking up the blood as it comes out of the wound. They need to eat at least every 3 days, but a lot of times they can't find a victim. I don't know why I keep calling it a victim. I don't know what do you call a parasite's victim? A host. Not really a host. I'm gonna go with host. It's kind of hard to find a host every now and then, so they have a social safety net where other bats can regurgitate blood another bat in its colony or family so that it can feed. Their teeth are absolutely razor sharp, so much so that museum workers have to have specialty gloves when they're handling their skulls. And as I mentioned, their saliva contains anticoagulant, and that has actually been used in the medical field to create anticoagulants. The Sega antelope is a very weird looking deer style species. It's got this very bizarre bulbous nose. If the word Sega sounds familiar to you, I know it did for me. It's because there's a shotgun. I remember the Sega being in Rainbow Six, but yeah, there's a shotgun named after it. Their nose acts as a natural air filter, so that it can breathe cleaner air. They're a pretty fragile species with a bacterial infection almost wiping out the entire population. This infection actually killed tens of thousands of antelope in just a few days. It's crazy. It's from Mongolia, but I think it looks like almost every sci-fi adaptation of a deer on like another planet. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but the pika is kind of a small little hamster style species. It mainly dwells in the mountains and is a very close cousin to rabbits. They spend their summer days stockpiling hay for the winter, and they don't actually hibernate. They just make a bunch of tunnels and stockpile hay so that they can stay active throughout the winter but they mainly just dwell, even in the winter, they mainly just dwell in their tunnels. They're super sensitive to heat, which is driving them further and further up mountains. And it has been nicknamed the rock rabbit. The hornbill is another funny looking bird with a large what's called a casque on its bill. These casques are used as one, a mating feature, but they also help to amplify the male calls. Because the casque is so heavy, their spine has actually fused in order to support this weight. A very interesting mating relationship with females, where once the female is pregnant, the female will seal itself into its burrow with a mix of mud and feces, and then the male will come and support the female throughout the pregnancy. The next animal is the Gila lizard. It's actually pronounced the Gila lizard. Interesting. It is a venomous lizard native to the American Southwest. It's one of only two venomous lizards in the entire world. Its venom is extremely painful, with this YouTuber describing its venom as feeling like hot lava coursing through his veins. Unlike most reptiles, they don't inject the venom when they bite. Rather, there's kind of like salivary glands on its teeth, and they chew in the venom as they bite them. They move very, very slowly, but its bite does not let go. There's only one person that's died from this lizard since 1930, and it was actually just last year. The shoebill is a massive bird. It's a very iconic meme bird, and it has as you can guess from the name, a shoe-shaped bill, and it has a very, very intense stare. It can make a machine gun noise by clapping together its beak. It eats baby crocodiles literally for breakfast and has an extremely intense, doom filled stare. Along with the name shoebill, it is also called whalehead. The mandrill is the largest monkey with very colorful face paint, I guess, with very colorful face coloration, and also rear end ass coloration. The brighter the colors, the more dominant the male, as with most things in the animal kingdom. As well as bright colors, they also have extremely long fangs, actually being longer than that of a lion's. They also live in massive, massive troops, sometimes containing over 200 members. The green anaconda is one of the heaviest and largest snakes in the entire world. It can grow 20 feet long and weigh more than 500 pounds. The females are much, much longer than the males. And after mating, similar to the mantis, it will sometimes eat the male. It kills its prey by constriction, suffocating its prey to death and then swallowing them whole. Their diet includes deer and caimans, which are kind of like a tropical alligator. Next up is another snake. It's the rattlesnake. This is a very iconic snake to America. You can usually tell that you're about to come across it from its rattle. Rattle is at the end of its tail and is made out of keratin, which is kind of same stuff that makes up your fingernails. There's a massive story about keratin. Maybe I'll make a video about that eventually. But yeah, keratin is the most goated material in evolution. Nonetheless, every time the snake sheds, it adds another line to its rattle. So you kind of like a tree, you can tell how old it is by how many stripes its rattle has. And it's kind of a flex if you kill a rattlesnake to find one with more stripes. That's some hillbilly culture for you. The rattlesnake, despite being very intimidating and having very intense venom, can actually choose to dry bite and not inject any venom. The final animal of tier 2 is the flying squirrel. This animal is on this list for an obvious reason. It can glide from tree to tree, not actually fly. It can glide from tree to tree very well, using all four of its limbs to steer, very similar to a human glide suit or whatever. And some of this species glow pink under UV light. It's interesting. But yeah, if you watch this video all the way through, thank you very much. Would love to hear your feedback in the comment section. And yeah, just let me know if you want more of this, because this takes a lot of time. I think this video is about like almost a week or two in production, which is not that bad. And I'm kind of like learning. But yeah, so would love to hear some support. I'm very iffy on this whole channel thing. So if this gets a lot of support, I'll definitely continue on the series. And it's fascinating to learn about these animals. Uh, there's some very, very crazy ones further down the list. So I hope you stay tuned. Um, you know what to do if you want to see more videos from me. But yeah, that's it.